You are standing in a stone house on an island with no power lines. It is 104 degrees outside. The sun coming off the Atlantic is the kind that makes the road shimmer and the air bend. Inside, where you are standing, it is 70 degrees, cool as a cellar. And there is no air conditioner anywhere in this house. There never has been. The wall in front of you is basalt, volcanic rock, cut from the mountain and stacked by hand, then washed white with lime. That wall costs less than 1 month of your air conditioning bill. My people have built walls exactly like it on this island for 200 years. No compressor, no ductwork, no monthly bill, just stone, lime, and a house that was built to know which way the wind comes off the sea. I put my hand flat on that wall at noon, the way my grandfather taught me on the island of Fogo, under a volcano, in a village with no electricity. Outside, the street is white hot. The wall under my palm is cool, not cold, cool and dry and still. I remember being a boy and not understanding how that was possible. For most of my life, I thought a thick wall just meant an old house. It is not about old. It is about physics. And once you see it, you cannot unsee how much money you have handed a machine to do a job a wall used to do for free. Before this is over, I am going to show you the exact way to bring that cool into the ordinary American house you are sitting in right now. The reflect, the shade, the night air, and the way out for the heat. And the one mistake that quietly wastes all of it. And I will tell you what replaced the stone and why before we finish. This works on the house you already own. No contractor, no permit, nothing torn down. A renter can do most of it in an afternoon. Let me start with the number that should make you angry. Somewhere in your house or on a truck coming to your house, there is a machine that cools your air. To put a central air system into an American home runs, by most estimates, somewhere in the 5 figures. $10,000 is a gentle quote. Plenty of people pay more. Then you turn it on. And a household spends, roughly, $700 a summer running it. Some pay far more than that. And understand, that is not the machine. That is just the electricity to feed it, every hot month, every year, for as long as you own the house. And here is the quiet part. The machine does not last. 10 years, 15, and the compressor gives out on the hottest week of July, the way it always does, and a man in a truck tells you it will be cheaper to replace the whole unit than to fix it. So you do, and the meter starts again. Add it up over the life of a house, and you are not looking at a purchase. You are looking at a subscription. You are renting cool air by the month from a system that costs a fortune to install, a fortune to run, and a fortune to replace. And that stops the moment the power goes out. Run the arithmetic over the 30 years you might own a house. The install, the repairs, the electricity every summer, the replacement unit when the first one dies. And a family can hand this one machine the price of a small car, paid in slow installments, for the privilege of moving heat around. For air. Air you cannot see, cannot hold, and cannot ever sell back. My grandfather would have laughed until he coughed. Now I want you to notice something about that machine. The air conditioner does not make cold. It cannot make cold. All it does is take the heat that is already inside your house and shove it back outside, burning a great deal of electricity to do the shoving. It is a machine for moving heat you should never have let in. Read that again, because it is the whole secret of this video. Most of what your air conditioner fights every single afternoon is heat that walked in through a thin wall, a dark roof, and an unshaded window. Heat you paid to let in, and then paid again to push back out. And it does not come in evenly. Most of it comes down through the roof. A dark roof in the sun turns your attic into an oven that presses on your ceilings long into the night. The next biggest share pours straight through the glass of your unshaded windows, as sunlight that becomes heat the instant it lands on your floor and your furniture. The walls come last, which means the biggest part of your bill comes from the two things that are the easiest and the cheapest to fix, the roof and the windows. Hold on to that. It is the whole reason the island house wins with no machine at all. On my island, we never had the electricity to run that machine, and we never had the money to buy it, and we did not miss it, because we never let the heat in to begin with. That is the number that should make you angry. Not the $10,000 and not the $700 a summer. The fact that most of it is spent fighting a problem the house was supposed to solve just by standing there. Let me take you back to the island. Cape Verde is a handful of volcanic islands out in the Atlantic, off the west coast of Africa, where the sun has nothing to soften it. There are no rivers. In most places, there is barely any rain. And in the old villages, when I was a boy, there was no power line for miles. If you wanted to be cool, no machine was coming to save you. The house had to do it. So the house did. The house my grandfather built on Fogo. Fogo means fire, and it is named that because it is a volcano that still smokes, was made of basalt. Black volcanic stone, dry stacked by hand, the walls close to 40 centimeters thick. That is well over a foot of solid rock between you and the sun. Then the whole thing was washed white with lime, a coat we call caoseo, a lime wash, brushed on until the house stood blinding white against the sky. Inside, the rooms were tall, higher than a room needs to be for a man to stand. There was a courtyard, or a shaded rear yard, and the windows were set so the air came in low on the cool side and left high on the other. In town, on the island of São Vicente, some of the buildings even carried a dome on the roof. And that dome was not for looks. It pulled the hottest air straight up and out through the very top of the house, so the building breathed the heat out on its own. And every house sat the way it sat for a reason. The windows and the doors were placed to catch the steady wind that comes in off the ocean, and to turn their backs on the hardest afternoon sun. In the worst heat of the day, you close the heavy wooden shutters on the sun side and open them on the shade side, and the house drew a slow, cool draft through itself from one room to the next. Nothing about it was an accident. Every wall, every window, every shutter was set by people who had no machine to hide a mistake behind. None of it plugged into anything. And it worked. It still works. You can walk into one of those old stone houses today, in the middle of a hard tropical afternoon, with the road outside white and shimmering, and it is cool and dim and still, like stepping into the shade under a cliff. I have felt that cool my whole life, and not once have I heard it hum. There is no fan. There is no vent blowing on your neck. It is just still, cool, quiet air in a house made of rock and light and good sense. Now understand what that means for you. The sun that hits my island is not a mild sun. It is the open ocean, no shade sun, close to the equator, the kind that cracks leather and fades paint in a single season. If a wall and a coat of lime and a tall ceiling can hold that sun off a family with no machine and no money, then the summer outside your window, with its clouds, its trees, its evenings that actually cool down, is a gentle afternoon by comparison. And that is the real thing I want you to carry away from the island, not the stone. You are not going to rebuild your house in basalt, and I am not going to tell you to. The thing to carry away is the idea that the house is supposed to do most of the work, and the machine, if you even want one, is only there to finish the last little bit. On my island, the house did all of it. In your house, done right, it can do most of it. And your air conditioner, instead of fighting all day long, barely has to switch on. Back home, this was never a secret. It was just how you built a house. So here is the clever part. And it is not one trick. It is 3 plain ideas, and a child could repeat all 3 at the dinner table. The first is reflection. My grandfather's house was white for a reason. A dark surface drinks the sun and turns it into heat. A light surface throws it back before it ever becomes heat at all. That lime wash was not decoration. It was the first line of defense, bouncing the sun off the wall the way a mirror bounces light. The color of a surface sitting in full sun can change its temperature by 10, 20, even 30 degrees. White stays cool. Black cooks. It is that simple. The The second idea is mass. That 40-centimeter wall of stone is heavy, and heavy things are slow. When the sun beats on it all morning, the wall does not pass that heat straight through to you. It soaks it up, slowly, the way a thick sponge soaks up water. It takes hours for the heat to work its way through that much rock. And by the time it finally reaches the inside, the sun has gone down, the cool night air has come, and you have already opened the windows to let it all back out. The wall is a delay. It holds the heat back until the moment you no longer care about it. The third idea is the way out. Hot air rises. Every child knows it. So the old houses gave it somewhere to go. High ceilings let the hot air lift up off the people below. Windows set high, or a vent, or that dome on São Vicente, let it escape out the top. And when hot air leaves high, it pulls cooler air in low, from the shaded side, from the courtyard. The house breathes, no fan required. The heat leaves on its own, and drags its own cool replacement in behind it. Put the three together, and you have the whole system. Bounce the sun off before it becomes heat. Slow down whatever heat does land until nightfall, and give the rest a door at the top to leave through. Reflect, delay, and vent. Here's the whole thing in one sentence. A thin, dark wall is a screen door to the sun. It lets the heat walk right in. A heavy, white wall with a vent at the top is a cooler with the lid on and a little crack for the warm air to sneak out. Same sun. Completely different house. Now, you have a wall you cannot make 40 centimeters thick and a roof you did not choose. So let me show you how to buy each of those three ideas cheap and bolt them onto the house you already own. There are 5 moves. None of them need a permit. Most of them a renter can do. Move 1 is reflect, because it is the cheapest and it does the most. The sun hits your roof harder than anywhere else on your house, and if that roof is dark, your attic can climb past 130 degrees on a summer afternoon, and all that heat presses down into your room straight through the evening. So you do what the lime did on my grandfather's wall. You make the outside light. There are white and reflective coatings made for roofs, sold by the bucket at any hardware store. A cool roof coating, and you roll it on like a thick paint. Check the label for how much you need. As a rough guide, a bucket covers a few hundred square feet. The cost is small next to what it saves. And if a whole roof is more than you want to take on, even coating the sun-facing wall a lighter color or the little roof over one hot bedroom cuts the heat coming in. Light throws the sun back. Dark drinks it down. You get to choose which one your house does. Move 2 is shade, and here is the mistake almost everyone makes. They pull the blinds, inside blinds, and it helps a little. But by the time that sunlight has passed through the glass to reach the blind, it is already inside your house, already turning into heat in your living room. The island way, and the right way, is to stop the sun on the outside of the glass before it ever gets in. An awning over a south or west window. An external shade or a solar screen mounted on the outside of the frame. Even a shade sail or a trellis or a tree in the right spot. Shading a window from the outside can block the great majority of the heat that an inside blind simply lets through. Same window. Outside shade instead of inside. An enormous difference in what your rooms feel like at 5 in the afternoon. Move 3 is the night, and this is the one that feels like magic and costs about $20. On a summer night, the air outside your house cools down below the stale, warm air trapped inside it, so you let the night in. After the sun is down, you open a window low on one side of the house, and you set a box fan in a window high on the other side, blowing out. The fan pushes the hot inside air out the top, and cool night air pours in low to take its place, and by morning your whole house, the walls, the floors, the furniture, has been rinsed through with cool air. Then, and this is the part people forget, you close it all up in the morning. Windows shut, shades down, before the day heats up. You trap the cool inside and lock the heat out. A heavy stone wall does this all by itself. You are doing it by hand, with a fan and a little discipline, and it works. Move 4 is the way out, for the heat that builds up anyway. And it builds up mostly in your attic. This is the São Vicente dome, in a form you can buy. If your attic is poorly vented, that trapped heat bakes down into your bedrooms all night long. Adding attic ventilation. Vents low at the eaves and high at the ridge, so hot air rises and escapes. Let your roof breathe the way that dome did. And a whole house fan, mounted in the ceiling to pull air up and out through the attic, is the powered version of the very same idea. It costs a small fraction of an air conditioner to buy and almost nothing to run. Give the heat a door at the top of the house and it will leave on its own. And while we are on the subject of air, do not forget the simplest tool there is, a fan moving across your skin. A ceiling fan or a standing fan does not cool the air by a single degree. But moving air lifts the heat off your body and makes a room feel several degrees cooler than the thermometer says it is. That means that any machine you do end up running can be set higher and can rest more and cost you less. And on the windows themselves, a reflective film stuck to the glass, or heavier, double glass if you ever replace a window. Does quietly what the old shutter did. It turns the sun away before it can become heat in the room. Small things, each one, but they stack. Move 5 is mass and insulation for anyone who wants to go further. You cannot. Easily add a foot of stone to your walls. But you can insulate your attic properly, which is the single best thing most houses are missing, and it slows the heat coming down the way my grandfather's wall slowed the heat coming through. And the mass you already own, a tile floor, a brick fireplace, a concrete slab under your feet, will hold the nights cool longer if you let the night flush charge it up. Insulate first, then let your own mass do a little of what the basalt did. Even a bare stone or tile floor left uncarpeted, or a shaded rack of water along an inside wall, will drink up the cool of the night and hand it back to you through the morning. It is a poor man's basalt wall, and half the time it is already sitting in your house, doing nothing. Put it to work. Now the mistakes. Because this is where people give up, and then blame the method instead of the mistake. The first mistake is shading from the inside and then wondering why it barely helped. Outside, always, if you possibly can. The heat has to be stopped before the glass, not after. The second mistake is running the night flush at the wrong time, leaving the windows and the fan open into the hot morning, so that by noon you are pulling the day's heat straight into the house you spent all night cooling. Open at night, close at dawn. That discipline is the whole trick, and it is free. The third mistake is sealing the house up tight to keep the heat out, and trapping the heat that is already inside, from cooking, from bodies, from the attic, with nowhere to go. You still need the way out. Reflect and shade to keep new heat from coming in, yes. But always give the heat that does build up a door at the top to leave through. Add it up. A bucket of reflective coating, a couple of external shades, a $20 box fan, some attic venting, a few $100s, most of it spent once, against a 5-figure machine, and a bill every single month it runs. That is the trade. That is the whole trade. And you do not have to do all 5 at once. Do the roof coating and the night fan this month, and you will feel the difference inside a week. Add the outside shades next month. Vent the attic when you can. Each move you make is one more piece of that stone wall, bought back one bucket, one fan, one window at a time. And every piece keeps paying you back, every summer, for free, for as long as you own the house. So if the wall did the entire job for 200 years, what happened? Why is everyone you know paying that monthly bill? Nobody outlawed the thick wall. Nobody proved it wrong. It was replaced, quietly, the way most good things are replaced, by something easier to sell. Through the last century, cement and the concrete block came to the islands and to everywhere else. They were fast. They were cheap to throw up, and a thin block wall goes up in a fraction of the time a stone mason needs. So the stone houses stopped being built, not because they stopped working. The old ones are still standing, still cool inside, but because nobody had the time or the trade anymore. And at the very same time, in the richer countries, electricity got cheap and the air conditioner arrived. And here is the thing about a machine you can buy. Somebody makes money every time you run it. A wall you build once and never pay for again is a terrible business. A machine that costs a fortune to install, hums up your meter all summer, and dies in 15 years so you buy another. That is a wonderful business. So that is the one that got sold and advertised and built into every new house until a whole country quietly forgot that a house was ever meant to cool itself. Not banned, not disproven, just replaced by a machine you pay for every month that a well-built house never needed in the first place. Now, I can already hear the three objections because I have heard them from every American who ever stood in my kitchen. My house is already built, you say. It is from 1972. I cannot rebuild it in stone. Good. You do not need to. Every one of those 5 moves is a retrofit. You reflect the roof you already have. You shade the windows you already have. You flush it with night air. You vent the attic you already have. Nothing torn down. You are not building the island house. You are teaching your ordinary house to act a little more like it. My climate is different, you say. It is humid where I live, not dry. That is fair, and I am going to be honest with you, because the other channels never are. The night flush and the heavy mass tricks work best in a dry climate with a big drop between day and night, a climate like my islands. If your nights are muggy and barely cool, you lean harder on the other moves. Reflect the roof. Shade every sun-facing window from the outside. Vent the attic. And yes, on the worst humid weeks, you may still run a machine or a small dehumidifier, but a small one for a little while instead of a big one all day long. The house still does most of the work. The machine only finishes it. I rent, you say. I cannot touch the roof. Then you do the renter's version, and it is still most of the benefit. External or reflective shades on the sunny windows, a box fan in the window for the night flush, light curtains, a reflective film on the glass, nothing screwed into the structure, nothing a landlord can complain about, and you still cut the heat that walks in and the bill that follows it right through the door. So put your hand back on that white wall with me, at noon, under a sun that cracks leather, and feel how cool a house can be with no machine anywhere inside it. The knowledge was never lost. Nobody burned it. The way to keep a house cool with reflection and mass and a door for the heat is older than every country watching this, and it is still standing in stone on my island, cool and quiet in the very worst of the sun. It was simply replaced by a machine and a bill you have paid every month since without anyone ever telling you there was another way. Now you know there is, and you know it costs about a bucket of paint, a fan, and a little discipline to take most of it back. Do one thing for me before you go. If you have ever gotten a quote to put in central air or to replace the unit that died on you in July, put that number in the comments. I want to see, state by state, what a summer of cool air is really costing people. Because I promise you, it is a great deal, more than a bucket of reflective coating and a $20 fan. If you are the kind of person who believes a good idea should not have been quietly replaced by a monthly bill, then you already know what to do. Subscribe, because next time I am going to show you the other half of how my island survives on almost nothing. How a place with no rivers and barely any rain never buys a single drop of water, and the low wall of stone my people build to catch a whole year of rain out of the sky before it can run away. The hardware store does not sell that one either. There is a reason, and I will show you.